Welcome back, crafters. Today we're going to make this beautiful hand cut and folded star. This one hasn't yet been threaded. You can see this one here in black and white. What I've done is I've made two stars and I've just pushed them together. You can see that there. They just weave into one another, these two stars. So we're going to make just the one piece today, the one star. And it's modular, so it needs two pieces of A4 paper. And I've pre-printed this with a Christmas checker design. You can see I've cut off all the edges once it's been printed. And this really helps me when I do my folding and my cutting, this checkered design. You can download these ones from my Etsy store, a whole variety of them. And of course you can make them yourselves also. Or if you're just folding plain paper, and that's quite okay, you'll have to work out a way to create these cross lines when you do your cutting. It just means you'll need to mark up maybe with a ruler and a pencil. But this just saves me a lot of time when I work like this. Also, one thing I really like about having this checkered design or having this pre-printed design is I can check that my folds are all really accurate, because of course they will fold along the checkered line there. Just spend a little bit of time on this, getting it as accurate as you can, because that will make all the difference with your cut and your folding. Right, I'm just going to check that. That's nice. Just score that down. And you see we've got a lovely concertina there. Now, let me show you the cut pattern. I've got it here. This is essentially what we're going to do. We are going to cut to create this pattern. The blue lines are our folds. We already have those. All we need to concentrate on is the red lines. But let's make it really simple, because when we do our concertina, all we have to do is focus on one strip. So we're cutting all of the pieces together, and that's why I'm working with an A4 piece of paper, simply because I don't have too many strips in there, and I can easily join these together to make my form. So if I look at this, we look at that as one square. Let's think of this as one square. So in fact, in each one of these, you could imagine that there was another division. So when I plan this, from every second block, I'm going to head towards the end there. This first one I'm going to cut off. This second one I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop fairly much the same place all the way down. Of course, later on I'm going to do these folds here. So what we're doing is we're looking at every second block as we cut. So let's give that a go. I'm going to hold it really firm. This first one I can cut all the way through. I'd count down 2 blocks. I look and aim towards the end there, and then stop before I get obviously right through. I'm going to leave quite a nice little gap there. Of course, if you are hand cutting, you do have to be very wary that you may not have folded it as accurately as you'd like, and it's possible that it could cut all the way through. So you can see I'm stopping fairly much the same place all the way, and making sure I count down 2 blocks when I do this. And a nice sharp pair of scissors is really important, because if you have to really struggle to cut, you will essentially slip and cut through. And this last one, I cut it off completely. So let's have a look. Right, we've got that cut pattern happening. If I open it up, you see what essentially I've got is I've got these V shapes. They're going to really help me when I start folding. I've not finished yet because I have all of these cuts. They will be, once again, 2 blocks down and stopping before I chop into my other cut line. Let's have a look. Great. This one I'm cutting now is essentially going to help me when I fold. It's almost like a score line, but it's cut into the model. You'll see what I mean now. Let's look at this score pattern. Let's open this up. That's looking great. Look at that. Matches. Lovely. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start with the pattern facing me, the colour facing me, and then I'm going to fold downwards like this. You know, whenever I work with this, I always have a plain back and a coloured front, just because this design really pops when you have contrast. Now, this fold now is very easy to do. These ones, they all just fold along a line, basically, what I call a score line, but with cuts. Okay, but this fold here is a little tricky because you are folding between the ends of your V cuts. All right, so I like to turn it around to give you a bit of an example and just pinch it between the ends of these cuts. Just pinching it there to get those folds. The easy one, folding it down and then pinching it to these cuts. And we're starting to get a really nice tessellated lattice here, as you see. And the design is great because it's coming out with all those lovely checkered designs. This design, I purposely altered it so it has a shaded effect on it. It will transform from one side to the other. You can see it's starting to get a little bit lighter as we move through there. I really like that sort of effect. Just adds a little bit of variety. Of course, the great thing about this is you could use wrapping paper to do this with. As long as your wrapping paper is firm, it can't be too thin. It needs to be nice quality wrapping paper. What a great way to recycle your papers. Right, let's keep going. Pinching, creating that lattice. There we go. That's very satisfying, this movement there when you smooth it all down. Had a little breakage there. Must have been a little bit close with my cut, but it's always good to highlight mistakes, isn't it? Because you'll see when you go to do yours how important it is to get your cuts as accurate as possible. Look at what I'm doing. I'm now concertinaing along the y-axis. We first of all concertinaed the x-axis, and now we're doing the y. Now if I open this up, you're starting to get a really good feel of how this form is going to look. I'll have to make some more of these. So I'll grab some more paper. I'll trim this one up and I'll keep going. And then I'll show you how we can glue those together, how we can drill the holes and create a fantastic star. I'm going to quickly prepare and cut this piece of paper so that I can make one module of this lovely concertinaed star design. So I folded it. I'm using these lines to help me to fold these fantastic bold checkered designs. Are wonderful when you're checking that you're getting accuracy in this fold, because of course it's really important to get your accuracy. It'll make all the difference to your final product if you spend some time really checking that these folds are great. That just means that all of these sides are aligned. Great. Now, remember our cut pattern? I'm going to bring it out again and show you. Remember, our cut pattern is working with two of these blocks. So my first cut is going to be right through there. Notice I've got my crease facing this crease here, so that's my end. And if I count down two, so if I count down two, I'm going to aim my scissors right to the end there, but I'm not going to go right to the end. I'm going to stop before the end. I'll show you what I mean. Count down two. First one, I'm going to just chop that off. 1, 2. Let's make sure we stop around the same spot every time. I like to hold it really firm so that the cut doesn't twist all of the fold too much. It will, it happens. Remember this last one? Cut it off completely. Can you see how I've created those folds? And if I open up, I can show you the V pattern that we have in there. We have a nice regular stop there. Remember, the next cut is going to come in from the other side, and in fact it doesn't have to go that far. This one is actually just going to help us when we do our fold. It's almost like a crease pattern, a crease fold, but we're using a cut to be able to guide us. So even if you just cut halfway through there, I think that'll be enough to give us a good guide. That's great. Lovely. Let's open up and have a look. Lovely. Here we go. I always fold it back over so I can see the pattern. And of course my first fold is going to be folded under. And we're going to do these pinches, pinching. And I'll just draw that out for you once again. When we do that, we pinch so we have these fold lines between those cut lines. So there's a small gap there. This is easy fold. This is the one that is a little more attention needed in our pinches. You can see I'm pinching it down there. Lovely. And I end up with a really nice tessellated fold pattern here. But the best thing about this, what I love about this fold, is it's like a fake weave. It really looks as though we have spent a lot of time weaving this. You can impress your friends and family with the outcome, and they really will think that you've spent an enormous amount of time weaving pieces of paper together to make this build. And that really is the beauty of this build. It really does look like it's more complicated than it actually is. Okay. Now, of course, we have just done our lattice fold, our concertina along the x-axis, and we now want to fold along the y. We want to concertina along the y-axis. This should be quite easy because we have already folded all these lines previously, so it's really just following those folds, pushing it down. Look at that. Isn't it a fantastic effect? Wonderful. Now I have one there. I've got another one here, and you know, sometimes I really like to change the pattern that I'm folding with. That's going to make a great star because it's going to have some variety in there. So there we go there. I'll turn it up the right way so you can see. That's starting to take form. We will glue these together. But as you can see, we need one more. So let's have a look. I'm going to use this one now. This is quite an abstract pattern, but all the red ones are uniform. Yeah? So all the reds shading up to the blue are a uniform pattern. So I use those as my cut and my fold lines. There we go. And there we go. Isn't that a great abstract design there? This is going to look excellent. Now remember, we don't need to look at our fold pattern now, do we? Because we remember this quite well. I have that, remember, to my right. That's going to help me. I'm now going to remember to cut down 2 blocks. Cut towards the edge and stop. Ah, lovely. You see? There's our uniform cuts. And we remember that we also have to do cuts from the other side. They need to move across. Let's open up and have a look. Looks good to me. Now, remember, face the pattern to yourself, fold the first one down. And we're off and running. You know, about that, facing it towards yourself, folding the first one down, there's something I wanted to add there, because you see there is a complete opposite in the way that I've done these patterns. That's because this one I folded the first fold down on all three that made that shape. So they all folded back, I joined them together. With this one, I reversed it. So all three of the A4 pieces of paper I used, I folded the first one forward. So what it essentially did was it totally reversed the pattern, and it's really clear here on the black contrast. But of course, we are adding this one to the other two that we made, so we've got to keep with our same process. Now, pinching into these forms here. So let's have a look. When I bring those over and lay them on top, you can see they've got that same diamond fold in there. Yeah, so there's three of the same. Wonderful. And each I've folded with a different type of paper, so it's giving me a different type of effect. That will make a really nice star. They don't have to be perfectly the same with every point of the star. Great. But that's one thing I wanted to point out. With each one of these folds, let's have a look at this one here. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an example of how we can transform this and make other forms. This is quite firm. What happens when we fold the star the other way? So I'm just reversing the way I folded this. Let's look at what happens to the form, to the structure. Okay, it's so much more solid. See that? It's really, really solid build now. And when I turn it sideways, I've got hardly any flex there. This will make a fantastic star pattern because the star segments are really compact. Yeah. Look at that. They don't fall out of place. See that? That makes a lovely star. Whereas this one, I haven't yet reversed its, well, let's say, call it reversed its polarity. This has a lot of give. So if I join these three together using this, I would essentially be able to make a star, but I would be able to bend this into something that can be tied up into a bauble, like this example here. So it gives you some flexibility and some creativity with the way that you approach this. And of course, what we are doing is we're going to give ourselves that flexibility with this star. You can see it doesn't thread up as neatly, but it does give us that flexibility. So Let me just reverse this. Just freeing up the form a little bit more. Great. Okay, well, as you know, we now need to join. We've got all these shapes. We want to work out our joining. I've just got a bit of paper here to help me with my gluing. And what I always use is a glue stick. Grab one here, get that ready. Now it's up to you with your gluing. I like sometimes to glue the two parts together. I'll show you. If I open up my form, let's take that, lay it on top, because we're going to glue this one down here. If I open that up and I glue these together, there's a lot of overlap there. I'm going to cut one of my concertinas off, just carefully. So it means we will just be gluing this piece here. So let's open up this side. Down. And very carefully holding firmly down on this side here so we don't get rippage. We're adding a lot of glue. Be very careful with this end bit there because it needs to be held down or it will rip off. Great, you're doing really well here. Let's go for it. I can place down, but you can see there's just this natural curve in there. So what I need to do is I need to work one at a time, and I'm going to fold these back into position as I glue them down. So fold it back into position. The best thing with using a glue stick is that you have a little bit of flexibility. You can move this around once you've glued it all together. Get rid of that little chunk of glue. Lovely, so just working one by one, folding them back. There's a tab that comes up, joins in, and then fold it over. Is that tab underneath there? Also, when we line up, we are looking along this fold here and just making sure that it doesn't overlap the fold. The fold is on this side here. Otherwise it would be difficult to refold that. Now we know it's not going to be perfect because this is all hand cut, but it's looking pretty good actually. Now, because this is glue stick, I can drag these corners a little bit. Just move them into position so they look fairly neat. That's brilliant, look at that, that's amazing. Don't think we're going to get any better. Let's see if I can just hiding some of that pink from the other. If I do get a little bit of dirt from my glue, the best thing about this is I can just scratch it off. Just a bit of friction will take that off, and I'll also take off my table. Lovely. Let's fold that together. Let's see what it looks like. Wow. Look at that, we are doing so well, guys. Right, I'm going to do this fold without any description. I'm just going to quickly fold it up so you can see what we're going to be achieving here. Let's bring the other bits in. See, we've already joined one together. This one will need to join together. So let's just make sure that we've got the fold correct. Yep, it's the same fold here. That's going to join on here. Cut, because they will rip off very easily. Put a nice layer of glue on there. Line up all these shapes. Let's turn it over and have a look. You can see a lot of the pink from the other one hanging over. So I'm just going to tuck those colours in. Lovely. Look at this. Isn't that amazing? Now that's nice that way, but this is the correct way for the star because it's got the points. See that? Isn't that great? Now, you would think that the next stage would be for us to cut off one of these edges and to join it. We can join it like this, but you know there's one other thing we need to do. Now it's your choice. You could hand pierce these. And I'll show you what I mean. What I'm thinking about now is I'm thinking about being able to string this together. You'll see this has been strung together with a bit of string. Okay, it holds it firm. Now it is possible for you to go through here, use a sharp needle. Remember, yes, this is the inside of our star because this is the point. Use your sharp needle, look for a center ground, a center part, and pierce. Pierce all the way along. You can do that, and in fact you may very well have to do that. There are other ways where you can use a hand drill. You could drill down into that, but actually I have a craft drill. I really like using it, and it's so effective with this technique. So I'm going to craft drill a hole in here so that I can join this star. Let's do that now. Now if you do have a craft drill, and this is going to be the quickest way to drill these, but make sure you get this well lined. I've placed down a bit of doweling here just to protect my cutting board. I'm going to line these up as best I possibly can. Yeah. Then with my drill, I don't need to use a high speed. See, that's too high for me. I can use that speed. And there you go, it was that easy. And now I've got a nice drill that will allow me to string this star up. Now it's up to you. If you wanted to make this into a bauble or give you the flexibility to be able to then string this into a bauble, then what you like to do is you like to put a hole in each one of these stars here. Now let's see how we'd like to have our bauble. Which way does it bend most easy? It bends easiest this way. All right, so if it bends easy that way, I want my under point to be where I drill the hole. I'll show you that again. With my side pattern here, there's give, and if I string it up, I don't want to string it from the inside one. I want to string it, sorry, from the outside one. I want to string it from the inside one, giving me a good join. So I'm going to do that drill once again and turn it on to a low speed. And there we go. Fantastic. You could essentially go through and clip those. There we go. I'm ready to join now.